Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to kick off this session now. I'm super excited that you're here today. I'm going to be joined by some fantastic panelists as well from Target, Wells Fargo, and VMO2. So happy to be organizing this session today. I just wanted to spend some time and kick off the session with what we're doing with data migrations. I think one thing that I wanted to touch on is the future is data and AI. I think over the last day or two, we've kind of weaved this message everywhere that that's what we're seeing with our customers. But AI depends on data. And everyone in the world has the same access to AI models on the market, but your enterprise data is actually the true moat and your true competitive advantage. But AI needs and demands a new foundation. Some of the things that we are actually seeing our customers consistently ask for is the AI foundation that helps you lower the total cost of ownership, that can help you scale, that can also help you unify into a single data platform, and finally a foundation that enables you to activate data and enable you with the new AI use cases. And over the last few years, Data Cloud has helped modernize the data and AI platform for quite a few of our customers. And some of the things that we've spent a lot of time on is we've actually spent a lot of time in reducing the lower cost of ownership compared to our alternatives, up to 91% savings on ML and Gen AI workloads, and also up to 4.9 times performance compared to open source. This is where you've heard live on stage as well yesterday as part of the keynote. So Google Cloud customers are actually seeing the ROI of their migration efforts and also accelerating their AI innovations. And AI is not also transforming migration. So it's not just about after the data in the platform, but it's also transforming how we are doing migrations. So migrations used to take years, it's full of risk, and it had unpredictable costs and very, very manual. And that's what we've seen in the past. But over the last year or two, with Gemini incorporated throughout our migration services, we're seeing an outcome of months rather than years, and also with predictable budget and on time as well. So we embedded AI throughout the migration journey, and some of the things that I wanted to mention here, we've incorporated Gemini into our migration tool all the way from SQL translations to validations. And also developers get agentic migration workflows directly in Gemini CLI now. And finally, once your data is in the platform, either be it our Lakehouse or BigQuery, we brought AI to data. So it can be structured data or unstructured data like text, images, and videos as well. So let's meet our panelists. I would like to invite on stage Alicia Henderson from Target, MaiLin Jain from Wells Fargo, and Vinay Pai from VMO2. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely excited to be talking to you all, and I know you've been on this journey with us, and midway through the journey or finished migrations. Would absolutely love to get a quick introduction from you guys. What have you used, your name, your organization, and where are you in the migration journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good morning, almost good afternoon, I guess. I'm Alicia Henderson. I am responsible for enterprise data strategy at Target. And for us, we are faced with a simple reality that to compete in an AI-driven retail market, we need fast, unified data platforms that we can harness the power of those data platforms to really fuel innovation, drive faster insights for our business partners, our team members, and our guests. And so for us, that means building out a unified cloud platform. It means solid data products and really trusted and governed data assets. We've been on this journey about 12 months. One of the best parts of this panel is we're all at various stages. So a little bit newer to this journey, but it's going really well so far. So.
Hi, good morning. I'm MaiLin Jain from Wells Fargo. I head up the GCP Data Cloud platform. We've been about 2-3 years into the journey, and in fact, we're just talking to my Google partner here. We are on a journey this week to shutting down the first instances of the on-prem system migrating to public cloud. Our journey has been a fun journey, and it's not easy. I'm going to speak out there. It's not an easy journey. But when you have a good partner to work with, right, you can basically knock a lot of things down. I here really appreciate my partners from Google and from the vendors as well. And our strategies for migration, right, really focus on secure, governed migrations, right? I will break down into the 3 key areas. One is leveraging AI, reduce your footprint before you migrate. AI can really help you to identify and use duplicate data, shrink your footprint before you migrate. That's number 1. Number 2, leverage AI to do these tedious code migrations, right? From your legacy code to the target code, right? BigQuery code, the schemas, leverage AI. Gemini provides these features, right? So leverage them. Do these tedious code conversion jobs. The third one, embed governance when you migrate, right? The platform really harvests the metadata for you, right? So start day 1, embed governance in the migrations. So bottom line is secure with governance and speed. That's our strategy.
Thank you.
Yeah, and over to you.
MaiLin, Vinay, I head up data strategy and architecture in Virgin Media O2. We are a large telecoms in the UK. We have been on this journey for about 6 years now, taken 6 large data platforms and migrated them into GCP. So we have been there right from the early days when there was no AI, everything was manual, till the very last project which we migrated in probably half the time because of AI and shrunk the whole time scale for it. All different platforms, big monolithic platforms from the likes of Netezza, multiple Hadoop stacks, data warehouses, all of them is now migrated running in native in BigQuery at the moment. So I'll talk about some of my experiences both on the legacy migration without any AI tools and how having AI on our side has helped us in this case. I could contrast the 2 journeys and see where the benefits are for various organizations who are on a similar journey right now.
Fantastic. All 3 of you are in different stages of the journey. Super exciting. I just wanted to kind of talk about, I think you've touched a little bit on this one already, MaiLin, but how has AI-powered migrations helped teams reduce the manual effort and how did that speed up the process? I know you touched on it a little bit, but Alicia, I would like to start with you. You're more recent to this journey. How has AI helped in this journey for you?
Sure. Historically for us, data migrations have taken long, multi-year efforts, often focused on moving all of the data and then starting to move all of the users. And so there's this period of time where we weren't really getting any value. And so our approach has changed, and we're building out our data platforms iteratively while building use cases that deliver business value to our team members, our guests, and our business partners. And so when we think about the AI tools that we've used during this journey, there's really kind of 3 categories that I would highlight. The first is tools that we use in product and tech to just do our job. Coding companion tools, tools for jump-starting our story work and our sprint backlogs and all of those things. The second is really tools that we've built that enable the migration to happen faster. Whether it's pipeline, rewrite automation, validation automation, different things like that. There are things that we've been able to build that just help us get through this journey faster. And then the third thing is really on the end user side of things. So when you think about data discovery, I mean, there's lots of very large corporations here that have just a ton of data. To your point, reduce your footprint before you migrate. Being able to provide our users with conversational tools that allow them to discover that data as they migrate to the new platforms really helps them build faster dashboarding tools for their uses.
Great. Vinay, would you like to add anything to the question?
Yeah, sure. I think the point you mentioned, Alicia, about value is really fundamental, and it echoes the same thing for us as well, as in our business wouldn't like something just as a migration for the sake of it. What we had to do along the journey is create value for the business. Now, the biggest gains which we have seen in using AI was the shrinking of time for the whole migration activity. So in the past, typically, when we looked at any of those large-scale platforms, it was generally about 2 years' time it would take to migrate that whole thing. Now, if you look at it from a finance perspective, when I'm preparing those business cases, it has to be cost positive, effectively, from an IT perspective, as well as for the business benefits. Now, having that activity done in less than a year now significantly increases the return on investment for the business. So that's the first thing, clearly. The second aspect is that when you have a moving target, like any of these large-scale platforms, they're not really static for the whole duration of your migration. They are themselves living and breathing systems. If you have a changing system and you're trying to migrate that, it's even more costly because you have to do dual changes. You have to implement very strict change control mechanisms If you can shrink that to 6 months or 9 months, it makes the job so much easier now actually for us. So that aspect of value creation along with migration and shrinking that timeline is where AI has helped us a lot.
That's amazing. I'm going to re-quote that in multiple places. Alicia, MaiLin, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so I would say this AI migrations, right? I would encourage you to think shift your mindset, start from the left side, right? From the very beginning. Because what we have gone through this exercise, what we identify is we are looking for opportunities, right? If the whole thing takes 20 steps, we are saying, oh, step 20, I can automate. Step 15, I can automate. I would really encourage you that then when we sit back, we think about this, you know what, if I rethink my whole process, I will re-engineer the whole process, start from the left. Where can I leverage the automations, right? Think about your SDLC process, right? Think about you shrinking your footprint, right? Code writing, how you use AI to generate test data, how you automate your whole testing strategies, right? And then how you consume the data, exposing the data through the AI, through the chatbot, right? That give you a full perspective of the data journey. I think that's so powerful. Reduce not only your migration timeline, you are also lift your engineering staff, right? To think differently. Think AI first. That's really the game changer.
Amazing. Think AI first. Great. Thank you so much for that. I know you are in different journeys, but hearing that you're all using AI to speed up this migration process is super, super powerful. I wanted to get an industry perspective as well, because all three of you are from different industry segments. Is there anything from an industry-specific perspective, a data challenge that you overcame, either during the migration or with AI, something that surprised you?
Sure. I'll be interested to hear from my co-panelists if this is also a challenge for them. But one of the things that I would say for Target, it's a $1.7 billion company. We've got 400,000 team members that are employed by Target. And depending on where you are in the company, you might say the same words but mean different things. And so for us, as we've made this migration, having the ability to be really opinionated in our semantic layer and really opinionated in the definition of our data, building out really robust metadata, has just helped us solve for some of those problems of consistency in our understanding of our data across our organization.
Great. Vinay.
We are a large telco. I think the biggest challenge we had always has been the volume of data. I mean, just to put this to scale, right? One of the systems which we migrated is a large Hadoop cluster. Every time a mobile kind of moves around in the country, it creates signals and information about where it is, which mobile mast it's connected to. That itself generates about 80 terabytes of data per day. It's about 2.5 million events per second. Wow. And that's the scale at which some of these systems, it's just one of the applications we had to migrate, right? So the scale of things and the fact that you are moving this application, you have to create test data, you have to create all the use cases for it and all the stuff which you have to do as part of that migration. These were some of the biggest challenges which we had to create all the environments for it and automate all of that as much as possible.
Okay, and as part of this is, how did AI help specifically to solve that problem?
It was for the test data creation, it was really helpful, and even for the code generation, as in the past we had challenges where some of these systems, right, were quite old as well, not this specific one, but a few systems where we didn't even have proper documentation. The code is the only documentation, right? And now you're able to give that code to AI and reinterpret it correctly, create the right documentation out of it, create the test cases out of it. All of these things were usually manual activities in the past. Now, with the AI capabilities, it's so much faster to do that.
Amazing, yeah. Fantastic. MaiLin?
And you know, banking is highly regulated, right? So we are not just migrating data, we are also migrating the regulatory truth along with this as well. So the whole process has to be reproducible with 100% accuracy. So really AI helps us to audit trail these evidences, right? So this is so powerful, like you mentioned, right? The manual creation of all these passes. Now you have AI enabled, basically audit trail the evidence, the facts evidences, right? So this is really the game changer as well from a banking perspective, regulatory truth.
Yeah. Regulatory truth. Great, thank you. Okay, building with trust. I think this is something that we've consistently seen as well with the new knowledge catalog, with governance layers, all of the launches that we have had here. How important is establishing a formal governance process post-migration?
Yeah, I'll start, right? So cloud infrastructure alone doesn't bring the trust, right? You have to institute the trust throughout your data lifecycle. What does that mean? Right, that means when you inject the data, the governance need to be there. Right? When you transform the data, the governance need to be there. It has to embed it throughout your data journey to consumptions. But most of the time, all these tools embedded give you technical metadata, right? You need to tie to this into a business terms. In governance, just a middle layer, translate the metadata technically to the business value that business can understand. So it's so critical you provide a semantic layer with business definitions, with business values, and also your policies has to be human understandable. So the AI really helps to translate all these policies and controls into business terms, then tie to your technical metadata. I think that's the power of the truth.
Yeah.
It's really business understandable policies and controls.
100%. Vinay, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, sure. Just to add to that, right? I think I was attending one of the BigQuery sessions yesterday, and there was a quote quoted by somebody about if your data is bad basically, AI is only going to make it fail faster. Which is so true. I mean, if you think about it, right? In the past, where we had multiple on-premise siloed platforms, the problems were also siloed actually, so nobody could see the problem in one place. Now we brought all the data in one place and all the problems are there in one place as well, which is a good opportunity to solve from a data quality perspective. So we did a lot of things in that space in terms of enabling that trust in the data. So there's been a huge amount of work we did in data quality using a capability which we built in internally with Google called data contracts. So there's a blog post which we have published on this jointly with Google. So that was a game changer because it gives us that visibility of who is creating data and who is consuming data. Yeah. And you can see that lineage end to end effectively. That was one of the things. We also did a lot of work jointly with Google in anomaly detection, as in when you're running a large-scale platform with probably 50,000 jobs running in an environment like ours, how do you know which one is going wrong without manual intervention? And this capability helps us see those patterns in the data and react to it in an automated way effectively. So these are the things which we built to ensure that the data which you are now bringing into a platform is fit for purpose. It has the right quality controls on top of it because trust has to be earned. And our data is now showing that trust and enabling those AI use cases.
Fantastic. I mean, I have a follow-up question to that one, especially when you're talking about data contracts. I had multiple conversations with customers this week about the complexity with data contracts is mostly organizational change. Do you have any pointers there on how you got started? Any additional things you can add there?
I think our philosophy has always been to start small, basically. We identified a niche area, a kind of boxed area where we could constrict it to that use case, and we made sure that the whole end-to-end structures for that capability was neat and tidy with the data contracts, both from the suppliers and the consumers of that data, and that becomes a shining example of what good looks like. Then you scale that out.
That's fantastic because I think as most of you guys also kind of face this, most of the time with data contracts or data products is always the organizational change.
It is.
But starting small is
proving that value to the business because then they can see what it means to them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have such a large ecosystem and then where do you start from?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Alicia.
I'll build on that. For Target, this is about data modernization. It's about our platforms, but it's also a people and process change for us. And so as part of this work, we've changed our operating model. We've changed the ways that we're working. We've actually created and formalized a data steward role who are people alongside all the tools that we can build to support them, but that are responsible for monitoring for anomalies, that are responsible for looking at metric drift as it occurs. And so that really has enabled us to, yes, build those trusted data assets, but then ensure that we maintain it over time and we stay consistent in that definition of those things. The other thing that we've tried to do is create visibility. We want it to make it as easy as possible to build really trusted data assets, and we also want to create visibility to our users on how to use those data assets. And so we've instituted this concept of a data health score. Think of it as like a credit score that says, here's how much rigor has been put into the data that you're using. And then you can use that information to proportionally understand the decisions you're making and the impact that it has on your business to know, is this something that I want to use? Is this data going to meet the needs based on the decisions that I'm making?
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, unlocking innovation. I think this is a question that's on everybody's mind. We talk about migrations, we talked about AI, we talked about agents. Could you give us an example of one Gen AI use case that you've implemented after you moved to the Google platform?
Yeah, certainly. I think we all do migrations, but ultimately the aim is to enable some business value out of it, right? From a telco perspective, our biggest data assets is our network data. So one of the biggest use cases which are now enabled with all this data and the data quality on top of it is about network expansion. As in, how do you ensure that when we are expanding our network, adding more mobile area for coverage and everything, you have the right expansion, because we spend a lot of money on network expansion. So channelizing that money in the best way so that our customers get the benefit of that network expansion, that has been one of the biggest and most successful use case for us.
Fantastic.
I think for Wells Fargo, right? I don't know how many of you are Wells Fargo clients, right? You probably have this. Okay, I saw someone raise their hands. You probably have these Fargo apps, right, on your phone, and I think that's a success, very successful stories with Google together. Right? After they moved to the Gen AI, they collect all the information, so that even upgrade. I think that won the award, the customer award, right? So that's a very good example of how we push from an app from your phone through Gen AI, through agentic AI, continue to evolve. That's a very successful story for Wells Fargo.
Great.
I think the use case I'd highlight is one that we just recently wrapped up in partnership with Google. It's supporting our Roundel retail media business. So think about being on Target.com or an application, and when you're searching for products, you'll see sponsored ads. Those ads are places where advertisers can bid on and purchase the ability to market their products. And historically, on our legacy data platform, advertisers weren't able to see their data and how those campaigns were performing for 36, 48 hours. And so they're really looking in hindsight on how those campaigns are performing. In a fast-paced retail environment, that doesn't work. And so as we've been making this journey to the new platform, we're able to support them in 2 hours now. And it's just really enabled those advertisers to make better data-driven decisions on campaigns that are performing well, areas where they want to invest further or back away. And that starts to become the foundation for recommending next best actions, conversational style analytics, all the things that have been discussed at this conference over the last couple of days. So it's just, it really is becoming for us this foundation that we can just continue to build on in all of these use cases.
Yeah, fantastic. I see a common thread of customer experience being one of the key things that we're seeing AI use cases unlock. I wanted to kind of get a reflection. I know you've been, again, different stages of the journey. One thing that you would do differently. So Vinay, I would love to start with you because you've been on this journey for the longest.
Yeah.
Like one thing you've changed.
We have done 6 migrations so far, large scale. I think lots of learnings from that, right? Some of these platform migrations, we had to do it as a 2-step journey, as in take your on-premise platform, just do a lift and shift into GCP, get out from on-prem because we had various capacity challenges or licensing challenges and things like that, and then do the 2nd step migration, which is then, okay, now we are running in GCP, now move that into cloud native, as in BigQuery as a target environment. And we had to do that at times because of underlying constraints. But in today's world, I wouldn't do anything like that. I would probably just do a single migration because the time to do that migration has now shrunk so much that I can enable those capabilities, right? Where it would have taken me 2 years in the past, I could do this in probably 6 to 9 months now. So that's a big game changer.
Amazing. Alicia.
Well, So I spoke earlier about how we've been building iteratively, right? And when we first started, our platform was in a very MVP state. And so we started onboarding different parts of our business. And we eventually reached this kind of critical mass of we're supporting aspects of our business, but our platform isn't quite ready yet. And so we're having to manually do some things on our platform that we'd rather not be doing if we were further along on our journey. And so it's this like give and take of iteratively enabling business value with ensuring that you have the right platform readiness, the right automation in place, that you can move at pace and move at full capacity of your team to continue to expand the number of business units that you're supporting. And so it's finding that right balance between iterative development, moving fast and at pace, with ensuring that you've got the right platform in place to scale.
Thank you.
I will say there's one thing specific, right, I would do differently, right, because we have different type of use cases for migrations. So I would bring a couple use cases. One, we just lift and shift like you did, right? Lift and shift, get it done, and then pivot, right? And also we have one use cases where we did along the way, we do modernization as well, right? But I would say, definitely don't do it that way. That will say one thing, because you have to do modernization smartly. The point is you have to think through what you don't want to bring to the cloud, right? You definitely don't want to use that same features, move to the cloud. But the others is really lift and shift and pivot is a fast way to get there, right? So when you do these whole modernizations, right, you spend so much time testing out, right? It just prolong your migrations, right? That's one thing definitely I won't do. The other thing is also look at your footprint. What's most important? Some of the applications, your data migration has tons of users consuming the data. What's most important? Move your semantic layer first. Move your user right away so they get the benefits. While you are doing all these behind the scene workload migrations, which usually takes much longer, right? If you just migrate the semantic data, get your user up and running, get them used to the environment, that's basically what you should do to simplify, also reduce your user migrations. And the others, you can then start leveraging AIs to do the migration, which you have less user impact. So those are the things I have learned throughout these journeys I would like to share.
Fantastic. I think, MaiLin, that's a different pattern than what we've seen in the past. I think in the past we just see, lift and shift and modernize over time. But this is a fantastic one. Move the semantic layer first and the user base first.
That's exactly what I think we did in similar way. As in what we did is the final layer of consumption which our business was using as part of these migrations will typically tactically replicate that data into GCP so that the business users can start consuming it. Then we can take our own sweet time to bring the platforms into GCP.
Yes.
From their perspective, they don't really care. They get their data first straight away.
Yeah.
We can move the pipelines behind the scene. And then at the point of actual migration, it's a seamless cutover for them. So they don't even realize that we have moved the platforms for them. Their consumption is available. They use it straight away on day one. The business is happy with that.
Yeah.
Then the pressure is less on us that when are you going to migrate this platform?
This is such a sweet thing. We never saw it this way. We always saw lift and shift and modernize. So this is completely new way of
and
doing
that's where the point
Yeah.
I mentioned about earlier about tactical kind of stuff like which we did as part of value creation. It was like identifying those core data assets, which you typically have an 80-20 ratio. There's huge amount of data, but probably not everything is equally important, right? You identify those key ones which are really value add to the business. We had custom jobs written to just copy them on a daily basis and then point the users to those data assets, right? And then behind the scene, we could just migrate them whenever we wanted to. And ultimately, when we did migrate, we could then give business users raw data for AI use cases and everything, which was not possible in the past because we had challenges with on-prem scalability. Now we could keep the data for a much longer period as well.
Great.
Yeah, I think the other thing is not only the data engineering is leveraging AI, right? Your data scientist, your data analyst is also applying AI on the data as well. So it's both ends.
Yeah. I think this is, by the way, this question you kind of already answered, but I just wanted to kind of touch base, which is great. It's, when we're looking at the migration journey, there are a lot of traditional old rules that we've kind of used to do. But again, AI kind of changed that a little bit and challenged you as part of the way. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Because I think we've already kind of highlighted a lot more. Anything that you've learned through the journey that AI completely shattered?
I think for me, it's a bit more radical, I would say, depends on people's perspective. We see development as more outcome-based development. In the past, code was very valuable. Today, AI can generate that code for us, right? So that isn't as valuable to us. We see as if you know what you're trying to do, if you have those inputs and outputs, AI can create the code for you, right? So don't have to be perfect with that code. We used to do that in the past. Now it's more about how soon can you add business value. I think that's a fundamental change in mindset, which AI has enabled us.
Great.
I think so we're early in our journey, right? So to imply that we have all these lessons learned, we have other people to thank for sharing all of their lessons learned so we can not hit some of those same speed bumps. But one of the things that was a key takeaway from conversations yesterday, people are hard, right? We can build the systems to do what we need to do, but the people change is the hard part of it. And so a piece of advice that I got yesterday that I thought was really valuable and really resonated with me is we have to stop thinking about AI use for AI use, and we have to start thinking about how to enable that people change. And a method that they were using is for their teams, defined irrational goals, unachievable goals, unless you can tear down the system and rebuild it with AI native. And it just changes the way that you have that conversation with your teams and your partners. And so I look forward to going back and thinking about how to implement that advice in the work that we're doing.
Such a valuable lesson. Yes.
I would say migration is not a one-time project, right? The whole AI thing. I just now look back, maybe 2 years ago, Gen AI is a big thing. Then the next year, it's agentic AI. So like the speed of AI evolving so fast, so the migration become a modernization journey. It's not a one-time project anymore, right? It's once you get there, all these AI things that keep evolving. I don't know what we will be talking about next year here, right? So from Gen AI, agentic AI, what's next, right? It will be totally different, but it will be some AI related. So the one thing shocking is like these things now become, I would say before, data, people think about, oh my God, another migration, right? So how many people here has gone through at least 2 or 3 different data platform migration? Probably a lot, right? How many platforms you have? You probably have, like in the bank, I can tell you, we have Teradata, we have Oracle, we have Exadata, we have Hadoop, right? You can name it, we have everything, right? So when you're going to stop migrating, you call it migrating data, right? And I'm so happy to hear this agentic data cloud, right? The big lake. You don't need to move data anymore. So I'm like, maybe we were not talking about data migration anymore. We will talk about AI. How fun would that be, right? So this is the shocking things like for the last 2-3 years, how fast we evolved. Yeah.
No, 100%. I know this is not a prepared question, but I would love to learn. Oh, wow. Amazing. I would love to learn, you've seen the keynote yesterday. We had a few sessions yesterday and also this morning. What are some of the really key things that excited you from, Agentic Data Cloud is one. Absolutely love all of the innovations that we've made there. Anything else that stood out?
I would agree with the example that you provided. That stuck out from yesterday morning. I had the opportunity to attend, excuse me, the What's New in BigQuery session yesterday. That was also very good. A couple of the things that were in there that were interesting is like price performance, price optimization, auto scaling, both very, very valuable things that we look forward to utilizing.
Great.
Yeah. For us, I think the capabilities which are now maturing in what was previously Dataplex, now Data Catalog, and then Knowledge Catalog, right? I think that itself is such a big enabler for our business because one of the biggest challenges we had was in discovery and metadata and all of this. How do you make that data as a true asset to the company? I think Google has done a huge amount of work in that space, and the maturity it now has in that area, I think that's fundamental for us.
Teams would be super happy to hear that. I think Knowledge Catalog is definitely a huge leap from where we've had with Dataplex. Yeah. Absolutely one of our key kind of innovations this year. And cross-cloud, of course, as you mentioned, the Agentic Data Cloud. Maybe we won't be talking about migrations in a few years. I would love for that to happen as well, because migrations are typically this clunky, long-term. I know with AI, we're making it shorter, but we would love to avoid it if we need to. Yeah. So that would be great. Yeah. I think I'm super glad to have such amazing speakers here on the panel today. So would love your feedback as well if there's anything that you would like to share with us too. Great, thank you all. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you.